P5+1 and Iran signed this historic nuclear agreement earlier this year. The deal will put limits on Iran's uranium enrichment program in exchange for sanctions relief. It's a very controversial issue in the United States, less so in Europe. And it's controversial, I think, because there's a real question as to whether this will actually stop Iran's nuclear program or not. It allows Iran to keep a large enrichment capability. According to best estimates, Iran's dash time to a nuclear weapon, even with this deal in place, is 8 to 12 months, which is a little bit too close for comfort. And moreover, all these limits expire over time. So limits start expiring after 6 years, and everything is lifted after 15 years. So after 15 years, even President Obama has said that Iran's dash time to build nuclear weapons will, quote, shrink almost down to zero. And so the deal is in place and will go forward. But it'll be interesting to see what happens in 18 months. All the Republican presidential candidates in the United States have said they oppose the deal. And so I think that if a Republican is elected, that there will be an attempt to put pressure on Iran to do away with this deal and to try to get Europe and the rest of the world to put tough sanctions back on Iran to negotiate a better deal. So it will be interesting to see what happens 18 months from now. Well, I've been in Sweden for a couple of days, and the issue of Swedish membership in NATO has come up a lot. And it's interesting. It's not something that's really on the radar screen of people in Washington. And in fact, when I get back to Washington, I think I'm going to write something on this because it's important. I think NATO membership would be of great value to Sweden itself. Right now, Sweden, in many ways, has a lot of the burdens of membership, a lot of military operations with NATO countries, but arguably doesn't have the benefits. It's not protected by NATO, not protected by Article 5 of the NATO treaty. So Sweden's status now is much closer to Ukraine's or Georgia's than it is to Lithuania or Latvia. So if there was a conflict, I don't know that Sweden could be guaranteed that it would be protected by NATO and the United States. If it were a member of NATO, of course, there would be no question that the United States and NATO would have to come to its defense. I think Swedish membership would also be of great value to NATO. The geographic location would be very helpful for defense of the Baltics, which is one of the greatest concerns now given Russian recent behavior. And also, I think just the common values between Sweden and the West. I think it's clear that Sweden's not truly non-aligned. Its values and culture is much more closely aligned with the Western liberal democracies than it is with Russia. And so in my view, it would make sense to make that formal.